Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It is 5:30 on Monday, November 15th. Andy Fitch,
Present.
Bob Letourneau,
Here.
Ann Barney,
Here.
Alan Silly,
Present.
Eli Badger is also here. Approval of minutes for November 1st.
If there's no edits, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. The minutes are approved as presented. October 25th.
What?
Yes, we had a meeting on October 25th.
Sure.
Very short.
I wasn't.
You
here.
all came in and signed.
Oh, that one.
I'll make a recommendation that we approve those minutes as written.
Oh, yes, that one, okay.
That one. It's been moved. Do I hear it seconded? Do I hear a second?
Did I second it? I thought I did. Second.
Did he?
I didn't have that.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go to the tape. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this?
That's the one you guys had in the morning?
That was the one that was all day. All you had to do was come in and sign.
It was open.
It was open, but we had to have it at a meeting.
Right,
And,
because I wasn't made aware of it ahead of time and was told that there was gonna be a meeting at 8 o'clock. And as we know, I have a job,
yeah,
so I was not able to be there. I just wanna make sure everybody knows why.
You went along.
it got signed off by 3 people, and at least 3, so everything was copacetic.
I can tell you, because I got my tax bill today.
Yes.
Yep.
So, hearing, are any more comments? All in favor,
Aye.
please say aye. Opposed, say nay. Moving on to
Gonna abstain?
Yep, I abstained, wasn't there.
No?
November 9th.
November 9th was your short meeting.
Yeah.
Was it, oh, what was the 25th then?
Previous,
I wasn't here on the 25th.
yeah, he wasn't here.
I was
No.
in Texas.
I thought we already approved the 25th.
I thought we already approved the 25th.
Yeah, as amended.
It's penciled in here.
Yeah, we
I
amended.
just thought you had the date wrong. The meeting,
Okay.
the short meeting was November.
Was November 9th, yes. Okay, new business. Meeting with Mr. Tim Fountain about tax maps. Mr. Fountain is from CAI.
You mind if I come?
I
here,
don't mind
Susan?
at all.
The way I can really see all of you. First off, thank you for adding me to your agenda. I appreciate it. When I spoke with your town manager, I asked if I could meet with the board because this is our final delivery of the parcel mapping project that's been going on for 3 years. It's very common that in a project lasting this long, there's either been change in the board or a change in municipal staff. I asked that I can just debrief the board on the project. I have 4 or 5 items to go through and then answer any questions you may have. Okay? So with this book that I'm going to leave this evening, we feel that we have met all of our contractual requirements for the project, and I ask the board over the next few months to review that agreement, and if you feel we haven't, please contact me, okay? In addition to the forms in this book, we also have an obligation to host and serve the Geographic Information System, or the GIS data, for a period of 1 year. And I'll talk about that when I get to that in my discussion, okay?
Okay.
So I'd just like to go through at a very high level or quickly the scope of the project, because I think it's very important for everyone on the board to understand as much as what we did, what we didn't do, okay? So back in 2018, this project was contracted with the board, and the base map that we used for our parcel remapping project was the 2015 state aerial imagery, okay? And that's stamped the lower left corner of every map. The project is really broken up into 3 phases, and each phase pretty much took a year, okay? First phase is the preliminary phase, where we do all of our research. Started with gathering files from your town offices. Then we went into deed research, where we researched, or attempted to read every deed, okay? The reason why I say attempted, the most current deed, some of those are very difficult to find for church properties and town properties. But through that research, we compared the information that we gathered from your town offices and identified what we had and what we need to gather from the county registry. That's the purpose of that step. After that, we went to the registry, gathered all those plans that we could, and that was pretty much our first year, all the research or preliminary. Year 2 is the compilation. That's where we actually start putting together the map. So we didn't start with your old maps and just digitize them. We started from scratch, pretty much, okay? And when you compile parcel maps, it's pretty much like putting a puzzle together, where at least when I put a puzzle together, I go for all the easy pieces around the edge first, leave all the hard ones for my wife on the inside. But that's what we use the surveys for. Surveys are the best information we can use, and they typically have significant amount of information on them. So as we go through compiling all the survey information, then we go back through and compile all the deed descriptions. And earlier I said it's important to know what we didn't do. Our firm did not survey any properties. We didn't go in the field and move any pins or what landowners own before we were hired for the assessment map or tax mapping project and after is unchanged. We basically compiled all the information we could and built a map for assessment purposes. That's year 2 or the compilation phase. Then the last phase of work is where all that information is now in a digital composite, that big puzzle of all the parcels in Ashland. We went through and renumbered, identified all the limits of the tax map sheets, renumbered all the parcels, calculated areas for all non-surveyed parcels, and then delivered preliminary maps. When we delivered the preliminary maps, I met with or communicated with Patsy to review the maps, looking for road name corrections, exempt property, basically information and feedback on the town's behalf. And then we held an informal public review where we had staff here in Ashland to meet with landowners. After the public review, we then incorporated the town's input, the landowner input, and delivered final maps, but they're never really final. They're constantly changing as new information comes in, landowners come forward and bring information, the maps are maintained, and I would argue they get better over time. One of the few assets that I believe strongly appreciates over time and doesn't depreciate, as long as you keep it up to date. So I'm going to pause there and ask if there are any questions about the process that we performed, and then I'll get on to the final 2 or 3 remaining items I want to talk. I'm going to grab a swig of water too, if you don't mind. Okay. Okay, so if you think of a question, definitely ask me. The next thing I want to touch on is how to handle questions. Landowner may come in, they will come in and say the map's wrong. What do we do about it? Well, we definitely want to defend our work, and we want to defend our process, okay? I'm not here to tell you this evening that there aren't any errors in your maps, because they're made by humans. However, the process that we use, that I just explained to you, is a process where we'll take landowner input, review that information, and then if changes need to be made, we'll update the maps, notify the board or your land use office of any corrections. That is a guarantee that comes with the project and is in full force for 1 year from the final delivery. Let's just call it November 1. And as long as we continue to work for you, which I'll talk about that, the annual maintenance process, that guarantee continues. So in summary, I want you to feel comfortable that, you guys didn't make the maps, you hired CAI to make the maps, and we're there for you. And I'm gonna leave this book, and one of the forms in this book are the correction forms, because we want you to feel comfortable giving that to a landowner, and then have them engage with us. Okay? So another form I have in the book for you is a map maintenance agreement. In New Hampshire, the typical map maintenance agreement is an annual agreement that runs from April 1 to March 31st of each year, because that's the assessment year. The contract describes what we'll do, but in essence, you send us corrections, surveys, boundary line adjustments, subdivisions, any recorded data, and we'll update the maps, snapshot the data current to April 1 each year, deliver you updated maps, deliver you the digital data, and update the website. And that, I'm going to leave that right here in this front pocket here. There is a section here about building maintenance. It's, the shapes of the buildings from the aerophotography. This project did not include the scope for those, and there's an NA written next to it. I just didn't want to confuse you. It's not applicable for this. Okay. This book also contains, and there is a table of contents, contains who attended the informal public review, a list of every single plan that we incorporated into the project. All of those plans are identified and associated in a database, so you can look at a parcel and see if and what plan information we used. And the plan index, or the plan database here, includes all of the plans we gathered from you, the plans we gathered from the registry, and even if a landowner came in and, gave us a copy or replied to our letter, all that information's delivered back to you. The takeaway there is you really have a mapping system now that documents where all this came from. I encourage you to strongly consider maintaining that. Okay? And another important document in this is what's called the Urad List. That's a list of properties that we found through our research are either in contention or owner unknown, which those two things are the exact opposite. So in contention is if your deed says you own to here and your deed says you own to here, there's land in between that we have record information that says you own both. Both you own that land. Owner unknown is the exact opposite. So your deed goes to here, yours goes to here, there's a strip in here. So that's identified here in this list. Question, sir, or no? Okay. All right. And the last item is the online mapping system. So the project includes building that site, building a utility or a piece of technology that sits between your assessment database and the parcel data, okay, so that your town staff can keep that up to date. So when Smith sells to Jones, that's recorded in your, I believe you're moving to Summit, or you're using Summit now? Can anyone update me on that?
Using Summit.
You're using Summit now, okay. And that's the conversion's done then, right? You're actively working in what I call production in Summit now, right?
That I don't have the answer for.
Okay. So that's important relative to the timing, because included in the project is to build that technology between the Summit system and the online mapping to keep the ownership information up to date. What I would not want to do is build it with your previous CAMA system, and then it'd be useless to everyone. So I would like to just make you aware that once the Summit conversion is complete, we want to build that piece of technology to keep it up to date. So, if you want, I can build the site now, link our database to it, which was delivered ownership current to April 1 of 21, and you can start using that now internally. I would not recommend putting that out to the public yet because ownership is current to April 1. It's a year old. But that's when the year starts. Or we can wait until the Summit conversion is completely done, build our tool, put it out for you, and then that's when the year starts. It's completely up to you. It doesn't matter to me when the clock starts ticking on the year. The process of building the web is we'll gather all the information we need from you, we'll gather the publicly available GIS data layers, obviously the data that we develop for you, pull that all together, give it to you for internal review. It's under password. You can review it, give us feedback, change this color, add that, move that, name that. And then with your request, we take the password off, it's open to the public. Last thing, the data that you paid CAI to compile and deliver to you, we don't own that data. The town owns that data. As a matter of fact, we don't release it without your approval. One of the forms in here is a form that you can fill out and sign, that we can keep on file, that anytime someone asks for your data, we refer to this form, whether or not you want us to distribute it, whether or not you guys want to distribute it, it's up to you. If we distribute it, there's fees involved with it, and the price list is included. Any questions?
Who's doing the Summit data? Do we know?
I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Who's doing Summit? Do you remember? Too many names.
Okay. In general, Tim, how long does it take to build the site?
Yeah. Generally,
Not
yeah.
holding you to a
Yeah,
specific.
yeah, thank you for that, because right now, with holidays and everything coming up, it'll be a little
Yeah.
longer. But if I were to come and just provide that service for you, it's 90 days, okay? But if you said tonight, I want you to build it, I want you to use your database, go forward, we'll probably do it in 45. So, say 2 to 3 months.
I know we have an audience member who wants to ask you a question.
I'll do my best to answer it.
Mrs. Badger, you're recognized.
Speaking for land use, going down the line, how do we accomplish getting overlay districts or zoning information? And how do we find out what the cost is for the future?
Yeah. Very difficult question to give you a direct answer because
understand.
okay, thank you. So that varies based on how much effort it's going to take us to produce that data
Okay.
layer. I'm going to exaggerate here just so everyone can put that in context. If you came to me with a layer of your zoning or a layer of your wetlands or something, the cost is small, recognizing I just have to put a map together.
Right.
Hundreds of dollars we're talking.
If we've got the
Okay,
layer.
yes.
Okay.
If you would like me to go out and it's the other extreme, go out and visit every culvert and outfall and ditch and sign, and
No.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
So it
absolutely.
really depends.
Yeah.
Each one is evaluated based on what you have to start with, because somewhere in between you may say, here's a paper map, digitize it, okay? Each request is evaluated independently based on what you give me to start and what you want at the end,
Okay.
okay?
I'll work, I'll just, going forward, I'll work with Mr. Welch as to what land use could use and what we can find
Yeah.
to provide.
And now is a very good time to be thinking of that, because you brought up zoning, maybe just as an example. Zoning is a very common layer that you would either give to me and we put on the site, or we take the composite map, which is the big one that goes on the wall, and we put that layer over top of it and call it a zoning map.
Okay.
Okay? So, thank you.
Any questions from the board?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Well, Martine asked the question that I was going to ask, because we do have our hydrants on a layer. We do have some of our sewer lines and water lines on a layer. And I think they were given to you.
I don't know about the sewer and water, but maybe, maybe.
I will say that I know they were given to you.
Okay,
Because it came
I
out-
believe you.
Because it came out of my hand.
Okay. All right.
That we are going to, I feel that we would want to have at least a staff, the staff being able to get to it. I imagine that we're going to do every telephone pole and everything else that we can to make it easier for when people leave and we have new people. Okay, so that will, I'm sure we'll, after we read your report there, we will have questions.
Okay. Good. I enjoy those conversations. That's really where the excitement comes to. I would like to clarify that the annual hosting fees for you get a year free as part of this contract, but moving forward, it's based on community population. It's not based on the number of layers. So if you gave me 13 layers or 31 layers or 50, that cost stays the same, okay?
Okay.
So we encourage our customers to try to give us as much data as you feel comfortable with. And the reason why I say comfortable with, because if you know it's bad data, we're just gonna make it
Bad
really
data,
easy.
garbage in,
Yeah,
garbage out.
Exactly. So when you gave me those asset
Yeah.
layers, if you wanted me to add them to the public site, no cost at all. If you want me to build security so that just a team of staff users can access them, there are costs for that,
Okay.
okay? And once you set up the security so that only internal, and water is a very common layer that is served internally.
Yes.
Okay? A whole host of other tools are available to you, more powerful GIS tools to internal staff users. Doesn't matter if you give me 8 layers or 80 layers, the one-time fee is $950 to build the security, okay?
Okay.
And you get all those extra tools too.
Well, it looks like everybody's gonna sit here and stare at you for a couple of more minutes.
Wish I had a better face. Ready to stare.
Unless you want to go back in line, and we'll be moving on.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, yeah. I do have, and Fred, maybe you can help me with this. I have 3 boxes, small boxes, that I told Patsy I was gonna bring.
Yeah,
Should I just bring them in here and put them on the side, or should I put them?
just inside the door.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
take care of them.
Yeah, all right. Thanks again. Appreciate it. And Thanks
you.
for the opportunity to work for you, too.
Okay, moving on to approval for mini split system, the second floor of Town Hall.
Mr. Chairman, you asked us to bring this up to date with the, thank you, sir, with the cost for the electrical hookup, which was the only thing that was missing.
Yep.
And the total cost of the project is stated in your agenda is $5,362. That includes the electrical, the installation, and the system performance.
Okay,
Those funds are available in the capital reserve fund, which you were in charge of.
me personally?
Well, you're at least 1/5 of the person.
Since we're in charge of this, lady and gentlemen, I'll accept a motion.
It's something that's been needed for a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
at least since 1986.
Well, but we don't want to rush into
And
this.
there's, we move slowly.
I'll make a motion to approve the mini split for the town hall, second floor of the town hall.
Do I hear a second? Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Put the amount with the number in there too.
Is
5, my glasses back on,
5362.
5362, correct. I'll make sure it's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. Approval of 2022 ambulance contract with Plymouth, $71,307.
It's one of those things that's necessary, very necessary. The chief is happy with this?
I don't know.
Yeah, the ambulance contract?
He doesn't know, okay.
I mean, it is what it is.
Okay,
We're not-
right.
we're not prepared
I'm
this time to take it over.
satisfied with it. I'm happy is not the right word, I guess.
You can live with it. If you can, I guess we have.
Thank you, chief.
Okay, in that case,
I'll make a motion that we approve the ambulance contract for 2022 to the tune of $71,307.
do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Hearing none. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'll pass this around so each board member can sign it.
Yes, sir. Send it back your way. While they're signing,
I hate to tell you if it's wrong, Sonny.
well,
Yeah.
I don't know, Plymouth, okay.
Sign it for both, and there's no need to hand over the other.
Maybe we can cash the check too.
Could be. We'll
Move
accept it
this
for
one.
deposit.
Fingers work. Now, you get to slide it in,
I will try.
you younger person, you.
Yeah, thanks.
While we're signing, we can move on to the next question of adopting a new federal holiday, June 19th, or Juneteenth.
You probably will need a position, Mr. Chairman, because I have a feeling it's going to come up during contract negotiations this coming year.
I would figure that that is one that's,
So it's for your consideration. You don't
Yeah.
have to take any action with it at this point in time, but you need to keep it on your agenda and keep it in
I
mind.
believe that that would be necessary because it will come up as another holiday.
Well, of course, if it's adopted by the state under RSA 288, then you're going to have to
Yeah.
contend with it in another venue anyhow.
Just going to nursery review.
I'll take it. Put it in the file.
Okay, do we want to contend with this
No.
at this time?
Up to you.
I'll make a motion that we table this.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Oh. Okay, town clock. Very well. We do have a town clock, thank you.
Yes, it was
What?
last rebuilt when I was here in 1983. The only thing that's left of the original clock are the faces. The original clock mechanisms are stored at the Public Works Department. My understanding is that, and I don't have this firsthand, that I've been told that there is some consideration as to whether or not the steeple needs some work at the church, and whether or not it should come down is an issue. I understand a group of people have gone to Hampton to visit the town clock that was resurrected there from a fire and built in front of the elementary school. It's kind of ironic because that's the first public school in New Hampshire, but it's a suitable place for a memorial. Does the selectmen want to take some action with regards to direction on what to do with the town clock? Those faces are irreplaceable.
At one time, we had a capital reserve fund for $3,000 or so dollars.
You still do.
A past board obviously had taken, it was told that $3,000 would fix the clock, or
Doesn't sound like that now, though.
it probably isn't anywhere near that. Rumor has it that the steeple that houses the clock, nobody wants to go up inside really and see how much.
Well, the steeple is owned by the church, correct?
The steeple is owned by the church.
And the church steeple is a main feature in the town of Ashland.
It's highly visible.
Right. And I think we ought to at least look at it and see what we can come up with.
We'll need to send,
I'm saying we have to take any action on it tonight, but I think it should be reviewed.
I will
looked
just
at.
tell you that steeple does need some attention.
I'm sure it does,
and
but we
and
don't
it-
know what the cost is, who does it, and who's responsible.
It has been looked at in the past, I will tell you that. Stanley Grayton looked at it and made recommendations.
That was the recommendation.
I don't know.
Oh,
It was done.
okay.
The last major work on the clock was in 1983 when I was here the first time. The clock was repaired, it was electric motors were installed, it was shaped up and shipped out, so to speak. It was put in ship shape. The biggest part of that project was there were large steel, I'll call them baskets, that actually act as the weights to run the clock originally. They were full of cannonballs, and those were removed by the Public Works Department and disposed of so that the weight of the steeple would be lessened. But of course, steeples, I don't like steeples, I've had to repair several of them. The steeples get old because they're they're not heated, they're not protected, they're open to the elements all the time. I think we should need to talk to the church to find out what they would like to do. In the meantime, my interest is in protecting the faces, which the town owns. We don't own anything else other than the faces that are there. There are mechanical parts in there that are brand new, so to speak, compared to the original clock. The original clock is in storage. There are a number of things we can do with it. None of them are cheap. But I do believe that because the faces are historical, they are antiques by any means, and they're irreplaceable, that they should be saved and taken care of if the steeple is going to come down. If it's going to be repaired, they may have to be removed anyhow, just in order to do the repair work. So I think we need to talk to the church. We need to come up with a plan. There is a group in town, I understand, who are interested in doing a standalone clock that's on the street frontage someplace. We've probably all seen the one that's in Concord, roughly across the street from the State House. There's a similar one that was built in Hampton a few years ago when I was a manager there. There are a number of different things that can be done with it, including repairing the steeple, which would not be our expense, and replacing the clock faces and the clock itself in the steeple. So it's very difficult to maintain, and I did talk to Phil, who was the person who did the maintenance in '83. He's not interested in going up and repairing that clock because it doesn't have any original parts. It's basically an electric motor that drives it. It's not really anything that he's interested in. So, but we do have the original parts, so it could be refurbished and put back together again in some sort of a display type situation. I suppose we can get pictures of the ones that were done in Hampton. We can get pictures of the ones that were done in Concord, because that was a salvage clock as well. But I think we need to do something with it. It's a historic artifact of the town. It's irreplaceable. The value is just, it's indeterminate. So what would the board like to do with the clock, or to do about the clock, I should say?
One, I think we should contact the church and see what plans they have. If they have no plans to repair the steeple, I feel we should remove the clock faces and any of the mechanics in there and put it where it will be seen somewhere else.
Well, it's a good start. You know, I think we should pursue everything that needs to be pursued. I think you're correct, we need to talk to the church. I'm assuming that the building inspector has looked at this, or maybe he should be looking at it.
I don't know if the building inspector has inspected it or not, but I do know that the clock repair person, Phil, who's from Goffstown, who's an officer of the Municipal Association as well, did go up and look at it. And in fact, he conducted a seminar here just a couple of months ago on clocks. And I did have an extensive conversation with him, and he doesn't really wish to work on that clock because it's not an original clock. It's just a group of motors cobbled together. But he did say the faces need to be saved. They are antiques and irreplaceable. So if they're going to take the steeple down, I think those have to come out. If they're going to repair the steeple, it's possible we could put the original clock back in, but it's going to require a significant amount of work to reweight that steeple in order to hold that material.
But wouldn't the church be responsible for that if they're...
It's private property, so the town by law can't spend money on the steeple. So it's
And if it's not safe, then they would have to get it fixed or take it down.
well, one of the two, yeah. And probably taking it down is a lot cheaper than getting it fixed.
But that's probably step one.
Yeah.
Find out.
That's a main feature in town.
I know. Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's not ours. We don't have the choices on that.
No, and the Supreme Court says we can't spend public funds on private property, so we cannot repair the steeple. We can repair the clock in it, but not the
Right.
steeple itself.
Let's find out what the church is planning to do, and then if they're not planning on repairing it, we should take the faces out
Okay.
before something happens to them.
Yep. Okay. We shall investigate.
Okay. The next on the docket is the budget, but I'm going to skip that for a second because we have Selectman's office closed November 17th for training. Just wanted to get that in before we talked about the budget. We may be tired.
Could be. It's entirely
People
possible.
may go home and not want to wait that long.
That's true, too.
What kind of training are we talking about?
It's the municipal conference, so we have training in virtually every area of municipal government for that day. That day's live. The next 2 days are via computer. So we'll have all of our staff at the municipal conference to receive the training, direct training from instructors.
So that's happening in here?
No, that's happening in Manchester.
Tomorrow.
At the center of New
Oh, so
Hampshire.
that was,
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
yeah.
all right.
So it's one day, and the other 2 days, they can pick and choose which of the instructional periods they want to do on their own computer at work.
Okay.
Yeah. And one more announcement to get it out there. Library public hearing on Thursday, November 18th at 6:30 here in the conference room. This will concern acceptance of money. And this is the library trustees meeting. It is not our meeting.
And we love money,
And some people love money.
particularly if it decreases taxes.
Okay. Let's go and take a look at the budget. And ladies and gentlemen, tell me how you want to handle this. Do you want to vote on each department? After any questions that you have found have been answered? I know that the Budget Committee is waited with bated breath for us to do this. Are there any areas that you have found that you feel are, you have questions about that we need to deal with?
Well, I just got the budget this afternoon, like 3 hours ago.
Okay.
However, we have been going over the budget.
Yes.
For quite a while, and I haven't had any issues to this point.
Nothing has jumped out and
Right.
said, yeah, all the explanations have been good. And Mr. Welch, what's our budget look like compared to last year?
We're up about $135,000 over last year in round figures. That has only developed in the last week or so because our insurance people came in with much higher prices. We were not expecting that. Everything indicated that things were going to stay fairly flat and normal. That did not happen. That includes all of our insurance coverages. It's not just one or two things, but all of our insurance, motor vehicles, property, everything. It's been a bad year from an insurance standpoint. As you go through your book, you will find that we've highlighted some things in yellow. So changes have been made. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. We can't control what outside vendors do. In most cases, the changes that are there are things that we have to do. We have to insure our vehicles, we have to insure our employees, we have to insure our buildings, et cetera. And those costs have gone up.
And you feel that our department heads have taken into account of the economic situations in our
I
this
do.
year?
We all tried to do a flat budget, trying to get there without increasing property taxes. This tax bill for this year has gone down. The tax rate has gone down, I should say. Depends upon what your value is or what you've done with your property. It may have gone up. We're very conscious of the fact that we have probably the highest ratio of people below the poverty line of the entire state. 21, almost 22% of our population lives below the poverty line. The average of the state is 6%. So we're very conscious of the fact that we don't want to increase costs at all if we can avoid it. So we went through this budget, and I'm sure they can show you the whip marks after we've had some conversations, to try to keep this as low as possible. It's difficult to do, all things considered. We don't want to see an increase, and we tried very hard not to. Now, I will comment to you, and I have been through the financial statements, and I received the audit today from our auditors. We have the funds to level this at the next tax rate setting, depending on where we stand. And if things run along the way I think they're going to run along, then my suggestion may very well be that you lay enough money in to, in fact, bring this to zero as far as tax rate input is concerned. It's only $135,000. That's not much.
That we take out of,
That would come out of the unassigned fund balance, which the selectmen can do at the time the tax rate is set. We can't apply it to the budget in the beginning. We have not done the default budget yet. We can't do that until after you do the regular budget. So, by and large, most of the big services that we have in town, including our employees, are all contractual. So they're going to come back in the default budget the same as they are in the regular budget. There are some changes that we did not anticipate. Salt went through the roof this year. We just about doubled in cost from what we're used to. We can't plan on anything. I think all of us experience the same thing when we go to the store to buy food, to fill your car up the gas pump. It's been 3 weeks and the cost has gone up 40 cents a gallon. It's getting to be expensive, and I think that's the result of the pandemic and the long-run effect of the pandemic. Hopefully that's going to subside, but now they're telling us that may not, that we may in fact be in for another boost as the pandemic apparently comes back to us from Europe again. So there are a lot of things in here, and a lot of things haven't changed, but some things had to simply because they're beyond our control.
okay.
And we have marked those things out for you. So if there are questions about any of the budgets, please ask us. Liz and I are very cognizant. She works with us every single day, tracking these figures for us to see that nothing changes that we don't know about. She's constantly giving the board updates, and we'll continue to do that even with the budget committee as updates come in, because we want everybody to know exactly what's going on. You will note in the budgets as you go through them that we have programmed everything, reprogrammed everything, particularly the utilities. We went back and researched everything that we could find so that we could in fact put names on things that mean something and put the costs with them that in fact trace those names. So we've done as much as we can at this point in time. We'll continue to work on the budget as the year goes on to try to track things even better and to try to settle things down. I read the audit report this morning, and I'm going to have a new purchase order system recommendation for the Board of Selectmen because we get grounded on that. There are a number of things that we've had to go back and correct during the course of the year that were done wrong. Some things were applied wrong, some things were just paid wrong, but we've corrected all those. And they're reflected in this budget. This is as low as we can get at this point in time. And not stop any of the services and not fire any of the employees. Can't fire them anyhow. For every employee we fire, we're going to have to put a comparable amount of money into unemployment insurance and pay the state that money. So it's a self-defeating proposition to in fact do that, plus we don't get the services. it's a catch-22 at in its simplest terms. And I do believe that the board should go through each of the items one at a time. As you go through them and you look at the sheets, you may have questions. We'll answer those questions as best we can. And you may be able to, I hope you'll be able to finish this budget tonight. I just don't know that. That's up to you, not me.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Supervises the checklist budget worksheet. There's a line here that I'm questioning. It's estimated 10 public working sessions at 4 hours. And that would be 40 hours times 3 clerks, and it's written in at 160 hours, and I believe it should be 120.
Take a look at that.
What page is that on?
I don't have a page.
It's one of the,
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, the
you're almost
12.5.
at it.
I'm sorry.
What is it for?
Page 429.
Last page. It's the narrative.
I will make the comment that this budget may have to be revisited by the time we get to deliberative session if Congress in fact passes the new voting statute, which means we'll have to have clerks on duty for 15 days before and 15 days after the election, 8 hours a day, as well as people from the town clerk's office on duty for those periods of time outside of the town hall. Probably either if we can get the school certified to do the election, or we may have to go to Plymouth Keene State College to do the election. It depends on how the federal government's going to stage this. It's one of those things that nobody knows, but everybody is trying to avoid, so. My suggestion is election and registration may change. But we'll check the extension.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it'd be salary under election salaries, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
That's what the expense is, yeah. My recollection is that's flat, isn't it?
Small increase.
It's just, I'm not trying to pick on them, but it kind of.
No, we want to make sure it's right. We want to make sure it's right.
I'm not trying to take away
No.
money from them, but
It went from 19,750 to 20,157. We printed it as small as we can. Of course, we don't set the dates or times because that's set by the Secretary of State. Yep. That is the figure that the trustees submitted, isn't it? So,
To cover the.
No, I understand.
deliberative session of the town in 3 election days.
there will be 3 elections next year,
Plus the deliberative session.
plus training. And they do have public sessions they have to hold for re-registration. I think there were one of those before each election, so, if I recall correctly. Up to the board. Let's see, 9,900. If you want to skip over that budget, and we can ask the supervisors of the checklist. If you want to approve it provisionally, and we'll ask them tomorrow if that's correct. If it's not correct, we have your permission to change it so that it is, based upon their input. It's not our budget either.
It kind of jumps out at you.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, now, I'm just gonna say that obviously I've had more time to look at this than other people today.
Yeah.
Had it over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're putting in what the supervisors asked us to put in, so. But if you want to do that provisionally, we will question them tomorrow, and if in fact it needs to be changed, I have your permission to change it.
What's the next one?
That's the only thing that I
Are you
found.
okay with that?
With what he said, yes. We can either,
I mean, we could get a surprise from the feds, too. you know.
we can get a surprise from the feds very easily.
They're our favorite surprise people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look what I pulled out of the hat this time.
We'll have to convince them not to use the Mad Hatter's hat
Yes.
on postage stamps, so that,
Alan's right, the numbers don't match properly. They have the one deliberative session and 3 other elections, that's 4 days.
Well, it's the way it's written.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the way it's written,
I'm just saying that.
yes.
yep,
I'm just questioning it.
we will ask the
I'm not
question.
saying it might be totally wrong, but
Yeah. Okay. Page 8. The highlighted 01-4191-10. Contracted recording secretary. Was that just moved out of another line? We created a new line for that?
Back to page 8, can't see it on 9.
This line right here.
Thank you. That is a added line. It was previously combined with general expenses.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, we kind of made a conscious decision to itemize many lines in
Yes.
here that weren't there before. We hope that the narratives help in reviewing the budget.
the narratives are very, very good.
We took a lot of time and a lot of effort, and we had an excellent proofreader who put things in language that, shall we say, is well understood. So,
I would agree.
we really wanted people to know, I read last year's budget review, I read the comments by the budget committee, and I recognized that there were a lot of things that were not spelled out in the budget. We purposely went to the effort of trying to locate those things and to spell them out specifically. We didn't want to have questions arise that we couldn't answer.
Page 11. Lines 01, 420, 42, 10, 10, 432. Police Department computer system maintenance has been increased. And that's because of the CCS.
The police department is going to move with the town to Lakes Region, our computer system.
Yep.
CCS, as we found out, the previous town manager signed a contract without telling the police department. They're locked until 2024 with CCS
And we got out of the town itself.
because it expired in
Okay.
June. So with that, the police department asked if there were going to be any additional fees now that we are not one whole, and they did up their fees.
Very nice.
Another one of the reasons why we dropped.
Yes.
If you have questions on the fire department, the chief is here, so.
Just got to that. I see that the building inspector's stipend has been increased.
That puts him on duty 2 days a week. We've had a real rush of building permits lately. A couple of weeks ago, he did 8 brand-new buildings, took in over $1,000 worth of fees, and that process is continuing. And a lot of folks are coming in and filing for permits, and we're taking in a lot of money. But each time he issues a permit, that means he's got to do
He's got inspections that,
anywhere from 5 to 12 inspections per piece of property before it's even covered up with sheet rock. So
we were lucky to get 3. The old days. Public Works has added the drug testing, I see.
yes, we have to, with CDL licenses, we have to provide drug testing as demanded by the state and federal government. We have no control over that. They send us a notice, and they send us a list of people that will be tested by a certain date. If they're not tested, they lose their CDL license, and we can't use them for snow plowing or other activities. So we have to go through with that. That's a cost to us. It's a federal mandate.
Where's our testing done?
Make sure, where are we sending them?
They come right here,
They come here, okay.
because it's a surprise test.
Oh, yeah, happy days.
Yeah, it's a surprise, and that was one of the lines we broke out, that was captured underneath the,
I think you talked about it at a
it's
previous
just,
meeting.
yeah, it's all surprise, they show up and, oh, you're up, you know, come with me to the bathroom.
Nothing like it.
I see the town, we have a new town mechanic and his increase, and his purchase price has been reflected here.
Yes, it has, yeah. We're lucky to get him.
All right,
He's also a professional fabricator of metals, so we will be sending things to Nashua and Manchester as often to get things done for fabrication of metals. So,
transfer recycling. Your changed line is solid waste disposal, district dues.
the dues have gone up.
And I don't know, did you get the latest one, Marissa?
Yep, I put it,
Yes.
they all have it.
Yeah.
Finally got the price, I'm always leaving.
Yeah.
It's beyond our control.
It's
It's
out of
voted by
regulation.
district committee, and we're required by law to pay it.
Now, we are still making use of the scale,
Yes.
and that is bringing in some offsetting.
Should be around $30,000 this year. Last year it was 100 and, don't quote me, about 180% more than, and we only had 10 months. We went up, you know, what we collected was 180% more. So that's offsets just about everything down there.
Chief, are your drivers subject to drug testing?
Not at this time.
Okay.
New Hampshire
The fire
exempts,
department's exempt from that.
they're exempt. The only time they're not exempt is when they take a piece of equipment into a neighboring state, which we're not likely to do.
And we broke out the line, in Parks and Rec, we broke out the line for computer expense this year.
Yeah, I never had one before.
Yep.
Is there money available for repairs down there at the town beach?
What?
Is there money available?
Yeah, there's a line for the beach.
Because there's some issues that have to be dealt with, that little office your people send in. There's some black mold around the bottom
Yep.
that needs to be dealt
Bottom.
with.
Yep.
So what line, what page is patriotic purposes on?
It's with the library.
Oh, right, okay.
So
Okay, I just missed it, yeah. Have you found anything else to discuss?
I don't see anything here on the 4th of July for the 2022.
There doesn't seem to, they did, apparently, they did not submit a budget.
They have to pay for their fireworks prior to the end of the year in order to have them for next season. And maybe we can have a member of the committee to speak to us about it. 4th of July.
We raised the money for the fireworks the year before.
Right, no, I understand that.
It's not, it doesn't come out of the town budget, it comes out of the money that we raise. It's held in a separate account. We don't submit anything to the taxpayers for the budget
Okay,
with that.
so it's not in the town budget.
It's not in the town budget. The only thing that's part of the town budget is under patriotic purposes
Right,
for the fire and police service, and they submit that, not us.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. As far as the budget goes, we will be submitting our budget to you for approval in December. Which is what we've always done. Didn't know we were supposed to do anything different.
Not a tax appropriation budget.
Right, exactly. It's
We-
paid
we-
for from funds you raise.
Right, we actually approve it tomorrow night.
Right.
Oh, Wednesday night, sorry.
It's March Tuesday.
Wednesday, sorry.
So how would you like to, I hesitate to say attack this budget?
I think we should just do it all at once, with the exception of election and register. We have questions on that that have to be addressed. Those can be addressed.
Well, I think we were giving Fred the ability to correct it.
You have to
Right.
vote on that.
And
Yeah, we have to vote on it. I'll make a motion that we accept the budget as written, with the exception of the election and register. The election and register needs some clarification, and once that clarification is received, if it's satisfactory, the town manager can make the necessary changes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
We're still in discussion.
Right now, we're in discussion.
So does this come back to us one more time?
Not if you vote it in that.
Not if we vote in the affirmative. And what's the bottom line that we're voting on?
Wow. That's a good question, because you just made an exemption.
Of not much money.
No, not much money, but you're voting on a bottom line without any changes of $3,064,117. That's for the total town tax appropriation budget. And then you have 3 different budgets for utilities, so they're separate. They aren't coming to tax anticipation. That figure will be adjusted according to what we find from the supervisor's checklist tomorrow.
See that number?
It's on the first page.
It's on the first page.
3,064,17, is it 117?
Yeah,
117, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no sense.
No sense. No sense to this at all.
Not at all.
No.
None.
Yep.
Okay. So are we out of discussion yet? Do you have any more you want to discuss about
No,
this?
I'm good, thank you.
With the exception of, how much difference in money are we talking, Alan?
Couple $100,
Couple of $100?
yeah, about average.
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
less than 300,
yeah, less than $300.
Um,
Yeah. 200 and some odd.
yes.
Yep.
I did not figure it out.
I didn't either, so.
Well,
But whatever it is, if it's incorrect, we're gonna change it to
It's
it is
going
correct.
to get changed.
Right.
So the bottom line, if there are no changes, we are voting on $3,643,117. I will require a roll call vote on this. Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Bob Letourneau,
Aye.
and Barney.
Aye.
Alan Silly.
I,
Eli Badger says aye.
You need to do the utilities, Mr. Chairman.
They're up next.
Yes, sir. Don't wanna miss them, because that could be a
We do
problem.
not want to miss them. But that's the town.
How do you do total or separate?
I'm separate.
Go to the first page, and at the bottom, and then the following on page 2, you'll see the 3 utilities. The water department is $344,072.
Right.
Sewer department is $634,066. And the electric utility is $3,500,532. The total is $7,542,787, yeah. $7,542,787. Get your tangle all entangled up on that. These are zero-based budgets, that is to say they have no effects on the tax rate.
Could we get the water budget any smaller as far as print size?
Why do you think I brought this? Because even with these, I can't see it, so.
We're gonna have to have,
Talk to Rusty about that.
We are trying to save paper.
well, you still use the same amount of
Turn it this
paper,
way.
it's, don't turn it the other way. 18 more pages.
Yeah, right, yeah, there you go. We have redone all these budgets.
I noticed.
If you notice, if you compare them to last year's, if you get last year's town report and look at the individual budgets for the utilities, you'll see a lot of gobbledygook in the description column.
Well, one of the nice things is that I wish to commend the office staff for doing the amount of work that they did with Rusty's help in getting the utility budgets in proper form. It was a daunting task for them, I believe.
I think it probably was even a little bit stronger than that. It was an almost impossible task. They actually had to rip apart all of the accounting facilities in the town hall, restage them, and go back and look at each of the individual expenses in each category to find out what should be there for budget lines, and then find out what the cost was that was expended on those in the past and projected for the future.
Good job.
Yes, thank you. And to you too, Fred.
Well, the people in the department heads did an awful lot of work.
Okay, Fred, I know it's difficult, but you're the only one here that has experience with the new budget. You want to give us the highlights of how they were broken down and we need to fill some dead air space.
Dead air space?
Okay.
Well, I have some other things for you to vote on, so if you want to,
No, well,
fill some dead air space, I can do that for you. We took a look at the budget worksheet. First of all, we took a look at the reports of the Budget Committee, and they were very critical of how the utility budgets were formulated last year, because there were a lot of sub-line items that talked in gobbledygook. Basically, they didn't express to you what in fact was happening and what the line item was for. We went through and we researched all the bills that were paid. We went through and talked to the department heads to find out exactly what they're spending on and how it should be accounted for. And we then restructured the budget so it had all of those sub-line items, which are the line items the selectmen are in charge of. The bottom line is what the Budget Committee is in charge of. These sublines, the reason to build them in the utilities is that you can determine whether or not the impact of operation of the utility facilities and equipment and manpower and rejuvenation of materials and so forth is compatible enough so that you can in fact structure rates for people to pay for the individual usages that are involved. This also has to coincide with the property values and the property inventories of what's owned by each of the utilities within the town. Everything from gate valves to hydrants to current transformers to you name it, it's there and it needs to be accounted for. And we need to repair them and keep them in good shape every year. It takes time to do that and it takes money to do that. So we went through and tried to pull out all the information that was available in the records in the town hall about what was being expended on what. Some of these are educated guesses based upon working closely with the superintendent, and some of them have been restructured. For instance, when we get into, and we structured these the same as we structured the town accounts, so that when you start off, you've got salaries, you get benefits, and then you get into hardware and engineering fees and
Here's what I found.
and so on and so forth, going down through all of the items that are required to be performed by each department during the course of the year. So we tried to itemize all those, we tried to put some actual cost to them, and the ladies in the town hall went through a lot of effort to search through and find out what those costs have been in the past, and to work with the superintendents to put those cost factors in there. That's how we ended up with a budget for all three utilities. And hopefully, we got some descriptions and line items for the sublines that describe adequately what's actually happening out there in each of these departments.
Thank you, Fred. There are some of us remember spending a couple of hours at least doing the budgets and trying to tell people what it would actually cost to run the department, and told that we couldn't do that.
You can always do it, you just have to spend the time.
Well, when you have some of the Board of Selectmen that, and a couple of times, didn't feel that our budget would capsize theirs.
Don't drill holes in the bottom of your own boat, that's my advice.
Okay. I do notice that primarily in the sewer budget, there are new lines.
There are.
And there are monies allocated to them that were not allocated before. And I would imagine that some of it has to do with the new septic receiving station.
Some of it does. One of the things that we found when we went through the budgets was that in some cases, some budgets were paid 100% of a particular service for all three utilities.
Yes.
We divided that up equitably between them by determining how many customers there are for each utility, then determining what the cost was for those individual items based upon the number of customers they serve. So it's prorated, and it's a rational formula to figure out what it costs for each person. That's how we boiled this down. And it didn't make sense to be charging everything for some function to electric and everything for some function for all three utilities to water. That didn't make sense to us, and so we corrected that based upon customers served.
Okay.
This is some line that you're discontinuing in the sewer line? There's nothing here in the budget.
Yep, the miscellaneous lines have disappeared from all the budgets,
Good.
but we left it in there for historical data.
Why are these in red?
In 2021, that was left off of the voted budget. However, it is the bond that has to be paid back, so they were included as charges that were still needed to be paid.
Thank you. I'm gonna give it back to you, brother.
I'm just in a, One of these.
Okay, have we found anything to discuss?
Nope, good. See, they reflect the new things that we have approved. And to get the whole thing down, so it's almost a zero-based budget is a miracle.
No?
Not these here, the previous budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is everybody ready? Questions? Comments? I will accept a motion on the water budget.
Make a motion to accept the water budget as presented.
And that is for
Oh, sorry.
$344,072.
$72.
Yep.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Andy Fitch.
Aye.
Bob Letourneau.
Aye.
Ann Barney.
Aye.
Alan Silly.
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Moving on to the sewer budget.
Make a motion, we accept as written for $634,000 and $634,066. Not used to working
Easy,
with big
easy to
numbers.
say, right?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Andy Fitch.
Aye.
Bob Letourneau.
Aye.
Ann Barney.
Aye.
Alan Silly.
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. The electric department.
I will move the electric department,
Where would you like to move it to?
$3,500,532.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Ann Barney.
Aye.
Alan Silly.
Aye.
Bob Letourneau.
Aye.
Andy Fitch.
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye.
One final vote, Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
and I'll pass this around so that
This here?
this is a question of, under RSA 4013, Section 5A, which would require all selectmen and budget committee votes to be votes by number and to be listed in the appropriation for each appropriation article and for each warrant article by the numbers voted by the respective bodies. This is in the statute. It's, I don't know if the town has accepted it. I have not had time to research back all the town meeting votes since 1983, so I'm not taking the chance and suggesting that we do this because you do it already. And I think it's something that should continue. It gives people a good measure of what everybody thinks and
I'll
why.
make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Hearing no nays, motion carries. What's next on your hit parade?
Hit parade. Hey. I haven't heard that terminology since,
Well, I wanted to put it in a context that you would remember.
that's what happens, us old goats, we remember those things.
This is old business.
So we're at old business, speaking of old goats.
Let's see.
Any old business?
We're not.
Okay.
We're not. He's asking me about the assessing contract, and what we found was that unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to the selectmen's record files, we have a contract for the next 2 years for assessing with a firm.
Okay.
So, it's all solved.
Thank you.
We need to sign off on the audit?
No. The audit forms that I gave you, which were dated several weeks ago,
Yeah.
during October, have been superseded by new forms that I received late this afternoon. You will have them tomorrow. The board needs to review them. I'm required to sign off on them if you do not have objections to what you see. There's no material change. There are some comments by the auditors on something that needs to be done, and some things that need to be taken care of, and hence my earlier comment on purchase orders.
Yes.
Because it's not being followed as consistently as it should be. And there are some other items that deal with monthly audits and so on and so forth, which are going to have to be addressed starting January 1, and we will do that. But the auditors did not have all the information they needed when they submitted the first tentative report, so they have completed that information, thanks to staff, digging up a host of information. I think probably we've melted a few lines down between them and us, and they have all the information they need. The audit is finished. We are in good financial shape. We have a healthy unassigned fund balance, which I think can be used to take care of the differential in the budget for this year. I can't promise you for next year because I haven't seen next year yet, and the federal government's still at large, so I always question that. But I think we're in reliably good shape, and I think we should make it through 2022 without difficulty. I hope.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
Any other old business? Hearing none. Select board items.
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Letourneau.
So I've been contacted by our regional senator, Senator Bob Guido, and he would like an opportunity to come to a select board meeting and present to the town and to the board what's going on in Concord and
Okay.
what to expect in the next year.
It is an election year.
Well, it's not so much that, it's just that he didn't know who to contact. And he says to me, I didn't know you got elected. I says, well, you didn't ask me. He's seen me twice this summer and he never even asked me. Anyways, you know, that's something that senators do. They go around all their towns and they give basically a report of what's going on in Concord. So if we can get him to, and I said I would bring it to the board for their approval, and then we'll find out what date that is, and I'll come back to you with that, if you approve.
I will follow the advice of the board on this. Quite frankly, I don't enjoy having politicians come in
Oh, gee,
and
what about representatives? It's an important job.
they see us once a year and have done very little for us.
You don't know that until you hear from them. There are things that happen you
As
don't
I
know
say,
about.
there is my opinion, and it is up to you, my fellow selectmen, whether you want to grant this gentleman an audience.
I personally could care one way or the other. However, there might be people in town that would like to hear him speak.
That's fine. We've already got, anybody else want to chime in? Because right now it's 2 to me. I don't mind being the only person in opposition. I'd say this about any,
Haven't been in this position.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand the difficulty of doing this and why it's done. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer it.
Yeah.
I'm qualified to do so.
yes.
I think we could find some time.
There's 3 of you that want to do it. The consensus goes that way. We're pretty much done with budget.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
We do have one minor thing to do, but that's coming up. Okay.
Ann, you have any opinion?
No, I mean, there's 3 people here that have
Well, right.
said something. The consensus is that the gentleman can come in and
Give us a presentation. of
give
what's
us
going on.
his
It's
presentation.
not political, it's got to do with the actual business that's happening.
As I say,
Your
we see
capital.
them only at election time.
Which is every 2 years.
It seems a lot more than that sometimes.
Well, let me tell you something about being.
Once again, he is a politician.
Not really. But it's a big job.
That's what they do say. I'm not really a politician. Okay, Bob, you win. Find a place for him on our,
Well, I'll find out what his available dates are and I'll come back
Oh.
to you with it. Well, I don't, I have to get permission first.
okay.
We'll extend a written invitation.
Excuse me?
We'll extend a written invitation.
Okay. I'll get you the
Get me the
proper
date
information
Okay.
and phone number.
and phone number. No, we'll do it in writing. That way
I know.
I have something for the record.
Mr. Welch, do you have anything else for us?
Just non-public session, sir.
Okay. This is part of the evening where we throw you out.